Hi, everyone, and welcome to today's episode of Flippin' Friday. Hi, I'm Jim with Amy Sows, and today we thought we'd share with you a little project that you can do to dress up your holiday table or the seasonal table as it is. And what we have is a really nice cut file that you can go to the website and download to make your own really unique napkin rings like the one I have here. Now, anytime you're working with a cut file, I always would suggest testing it out first on different types of paper or materials you want to work with. Hey, Ring. And what I did here, I did it with cardstock. And of course, when you're checking it, you could even maybe adjust the size if you want. Like I was playing with a couple different sizes. So again, this is where you're going to work with your software that came with your cutting machine. In this case, I used a Brother Scan and Cut. And I used the software to go and just adjust the size a little bit just to play with it to get a different look. And then when it comes to the materials you want to work with, there's so many that are out there that you can use and adapt. And whenever I was working with some, one of them I tried was what I had found here in our studio, which was a nice kind of pewtery color gray that was like a fairly nice weight of cardstock. What I did though was because I wanted something a little sturdier, this was chipboard. And if you're one of our subscribers in our Scan and Cut box subscription, you know that we had played with chipboard before. And I did try it there. It was very thick and heavy and it worked well. And what I did to try it a little differently was I went and used some regular cardstock like you would find to go and make greeting cards with. And what I did was I went and took the two layers of it and fused it together with a fusible web. Basically, any type you like to use, that involves an iron. And I just went ahead and applied it to the back side of it, fuse them together, and then put it in my machine and cut it as one. And that way I got a much sturdier piece of cardstock to work with, so that whenever I did my candle ring, I have a very nice kind of pewtery look to it. And then, of course, I went and got a dark taupe napkin to put through it just to give it a unique kind of a look there for the table. And, of course, you can get some shiny metallics in here. I went and got this one. And as you can see, I still have the fusible web on the back because by itself, I don't think it was strong enough to act as a candle napkin ring. So I went ahead and got the two of them. Now you can go ahead and cut them out individually and infuse them together. But what I found was really easy was to go ahead, bond them together first. And you can see here how my paper was a little bit bigger than my cardstock. So what I would suggest doing is getting yourself some parchment paper at the grocery store. And what I did was I went and put a layer of parchment paper on my ironing surface first, then put my cardstock on top, and then covered it with a second piece. And then when I ironed it on, there was no chance of getting any fusible web seeping out from the cardstock, since it is not a porous material like fabric would be. In case it did ooze out, it went onto the freezer wrap and not on my ironing board surface or on the bottom of my iron. So that way it kept everything nice and clean. And of course, this way cleanup was easy. I just threw the parchment paper out. So you can kind of fuse the two together, cut them out. Another material you could use is like a metallic is like a foil. Use it with extreme caution, because as you can see what it happened to mine, it really kind of rippled a little bit. And as we say here at Amy Sews, we mess up so you don't have to. Well, what happened with this one, this was a 12-inch square piece of foil cardstock I got. And when I had it under the press, it actually caused a large bubble that popped. And it actually delaminated the foil from the cardstock. So if you do decide to do a foil, apply the heat very carefully. And what I would do before, I would invest in like multiple pieces of the cardstock. I would get one first, try it out and see if it worked first and what I would have to do to make it work for my project so that before I spent all that time into it, I'm not wasting a lot. And as you can see, I finally got it to work out where I have it cut out on my cardstock this way. It's rather firm and it looks nice on both sides. And of course, now that it is a little thicker, I could go and take a marker and color the edges if I want to. Even on the gray one, I could actually take a marker and maybe even do a little shading on it to make it more looking like a three-dimensional pewter napkin ring as it is. And then, of course, I have to show you the metallic one I did, which turned out really nice. And so if you're into a lot of the sparkles and the bling, you may want to try that too. It worked out great. I just used the regular blade on my machine and it cut out really, really well. And again, if you want to download the cut file for this, just go to amybachman.com. It's free. Just help yourself with it. One thing I do want to address too is because this is a small design, because it's designed to fit on a napkin, that when it comes to these fine little areas, like the leaves and things like that, that's something you want to consider whenever you're selecting your material, what you're going to cut. And hi, Carol. Whenever I was looking at this, one of the things I first thought was, well, would it be kind of neat if I had a particular fabric for my napkin and I wanted to use a complementary or a contrasting fabric to actually cover my chipboard with that fabric to get a totally different look. In this case, I wouldn't do it. So like I do have a fabric that I had selected. Thought I'd go ahead and, it sounds pretty simple. Just take your fabric and apply a piece of fusible web to the backside, fuse it onto your cardstock, and then go ahead and cut it out. The only trouble would be because of you have to consider the weave of the fabric. So if it's not like a high quality fabric like you would get at your local quilt shop, it may shred as you're trying to cut it. If you don't do a good bond to the cardstock, it's going to pull and snag. You're not going to have a very nice cut with your cutting blade. So then you're thinking, well, maybe I'll go put my rotary blade on. I wouldn't want to cut my cardstock with a rotary blade. It's going to dull it really fast. It'll be good for the fabric, not the cardstock. So basically what I'm trying to say is fabric may not be a great choice to use when you're trying to cut out such a little small design with details like that. So how can you go about doing it with your fabric? Well, I found a way. And what that is I went ahead and I took my fabric and I put it into a copier and photocopied it. Now, of course, I would probably play with the graphics a little bit, but you get the idea that I can now actually have it printed, and you can see here that it's actually a piece of paper, and I can take this and bond it with my fusible web to the back of a piece of cardstock, and then it's ready to go ahead and put it in my cutting machine. Hi, Dorothy. And cut up my design. Now, before you do like I did with the other ones, let's say as I show you again, my little metallic pumpkin here, it's double-sided. So what I did was I took, again, the two pieces of prepared metallic cardstock, peeled off the backing, and by doing each layer with a layer of fusible web gives it even that much more strength. We don't often realize that when you're using a fusible web, it does make your product a little bulkier. And in this case, it's a good thing because it makes my cardstock even sturdier when I'd fuse them together. And then I can cut this out, and of course it would cut out through the double layers. So it's like having both sides cut out at once. I'm not going to do that on my printed paper because my concern was what happens if I take this and fuse it to both sides of my cardstock and then put it on my cutting mat and cut it out. When I go to release it, this paper, since it's not treated, may end up peeling or shredding or snagging, and I would basically be destroying all that printing that I did. So what I would suggest doing would be go ahead and bond it to a layer of chipboard or cardstock, putting a second layer of fusible web on the back of that. Go ahead and cut it out. But what I'll do is I'll cut out my one pumpkin like I did with this one, and then I would go ahead and mirror image, basically flipping it to the other side. So you can see here where they're both kind of facing each other. And this again is on a single layer. And what I found out was by doing it on a single layer, it cut out really quick compared to having it the double thickness. I would have the fusible web in the back, of course, peeled it off, take the two of them, line them up. And you can see here, it just kind of went right together. And then I would go right to my ironing board and press the two together. And then I would get a nice, very firm fabric looking candle ring. Sorry, napkin ring. And just to give you another idea to play with it, since you got the idea of taking your napkin ring and printing out two of them, I would do four of them because I want to make one dimensional. So what I would do is I would cut out two of them looking in one direction. So this way you can see like the top of the stem is going to the left. Mirror it or flip it, having it go to the right. I would do two of each one and then carefully fold them in half, right sides together. And then basically just take them and stack them and fuse half of them in groups so that what I have left is a three-dimensional standing pumpkin candle napkin ring. So I can just have my napkin ring like this and easily take my napkin. And what's nice is I can actually kind of squeeze it together to get my napkin in and then open it up so I can make even a dimensional one that I can leave on my napkin like that, or just use it as a decoration on the table, maybe even put a favor or something if you're doing like a dinner party and have that within the middle of it. And of course, after your occasion, you can easily just fold them flat to store them, or maybe even put them in a gift or a card or whatever. So you can take your napkin ring, like I said, make a three-dimensional version, or a really nice classic one of the single layer like that out of metallic. So you can have a metal looking napkin ring. So hopefully you enjoyed that little trick we did here. Hi, Patty. Thank you. So thanks for watching, and I hope you liked the project we did today. And don't forget, be sure to go to amybachman.com to download the design, and then you can start making your own napkin rings for the holidays. And thanks for watching, and be sure to check out our website for other classes and projects we have to offer. And of course, we have our monthly subscription box where you can join us to do our Serger box and also our scan and cut box too. And that being said, thanks again for watching. And remember, as Amy would say, the more you know, the more you sew. Have a great day.